Deep in the dense jungles of Central America, ruins rise where vines now cling to stone. Towering pyramids pierce the canopy, their steps once alive with ritual and drums, now echoing only with silence. The Maya, masters of astronomy, kingship, and architecture, built a civilization that rivaled the greatest of the ancient world. For centuries they thrived, weaving time, gods, and human blood into a cosmic order. Then suddenly, they fell. By the end of the 9th century, the great cities of the southern lowlands, Tikal, Copán, Palenque, Calakmul, were abandoned. Temples crumbled, plazas emptied, and the jungle swallowed stone monuments whole. Why did this great empire collapse? What forces shattered a civilization so deeply entwined with gods and time itself? Tonight, we embark on a journey through the mystery of the Maya collapse. The Maya world stretched across modern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, and El Salvador. It was a land of diversity, lush rainforests, high mountains, coastal plains, and river valleys. At its heart lay the lowland jungles, where fertile floodplains nourished maize, beans, and squash. From these fields rose villages that would grow into kingdoms. Between 2000 BCE and 250 CE, the Maya transformed from subsistence farmers into cosmic architects. They carved cities into the jungle, each one a reflection of divine order. Unlike a unified empire, the Maya world was a constellation of city-states, bound together by trade but divided by rivalries. The landscape shaped their destiny, a paradise of abundance, yet also a crucible of fragility. This was the stage upon which the Maya civilization would reach its heights and eventually face its collapse. The Maya were obsessed with time. They created calendars so precise they rival even modern astronomy. Priests charted the movement of Venus, predicted eclipses, and aligned temples with solstices. To the Maya, time was not linear. It was cyclical, a wheel of creation and destruction, birth and death, rise and fall. Civilizations like stars were believed to have cosmic lifespans. Kings performed rituals to maintain balance, shedding their own blood to renew the universe. The calendar round, the long count, and the sacred 260-day Tzolk'in, these were not simply measurements of days, but pathways into divine order. Ironically, the Maya themselves would fulfill the prophecy of cycles ending. Their obsession with time gave them mastery over the heavens, but could not shield them from the inevitability of collapse. From 250 to 900 CE, the Maya entered their golden age, the classic period. Dozens of city-states flourished, each ruled by kings who claimed divine blood. Tikal, Copán, Palenque, Calakmul, urban marvels filled with temples, palaces, and ball courts. The Maya carved their history into stelae, monuments inscribed with wars, alliances, and rituals. Artistry reached new heights. Jade masks painted codices and glyphs that captured entire dynasties. The ball game was not mere sport, but cosmic theater, symbolizing the struggle of life and death. Priests, warriors, and rulers each played roles in a civilization deeply bound to the sacred. But this brilliance rested on fragile foundations. Resources stretched thin, populations soared, and rivalries festered. The classic period was both the pinnacle of Maya achievement and the beginning of its unraveling. At the heart of the classic period stood Tikal. Rising from the Guatemalan lowlands, its temples soared 70 meters above the jungle canopy. Tikal was home to tens of thousands, a city of plazas, palaces, and pyramids. Its rulers traced lineages back to the gods, their power carved in stone on towering stelae. Rituals filled the plazas, bloodletting, offerings, and processions to ensure cosmic balance. The city thrived on trade, connecting jade, obsidian, cacao, and feathers across Mesoamerica. Tikal's strength was matched by rivals, especially Calakmul, with whom it waged wars that shook the Maya world. Victory brought prestige, but constant conflict drained resources. At its height, Tikal embodied Maya greatness, but its monuments and inscriptions also reveal the stresses of rivalry and survival. The glory of Tikal was a beacon and a warning of the fragility of empire. Palenque in the Chiapas highlands was famed for its artistry and architecture. Its king, Tikal the Great, built majestic temples and a tomb that remains one of the most stunning discoveries in Mesoamerica. Far to the north, Calakmul rose as a superpower, its rulers locking horns with Tikal in a struggle for dominance. The rivalry between these city-states was etched into stone inscriptions, telling stories of alliances, betrayals, and wars. Palenque flourished in beauty and art, while Calakmul commanded military might. Yet their grandeur revealed the fractures of Maya politics, a world not united under one empire, but splintered into kingdoms constantly at war. This endless struggle for prestige and power would one day weaken them all, leaving their cities vulnerable to forces greater than kings. The Maya world was lush but fragile. Soil in the lowlands was thin, quickly exhausted by farming. To survive, the Maya built terraces, canals, and reservoirs. Water was life. In a land without great rivers, they depended on rain and sacred cenotes, natural wells believed to connect with the underworld. Population soared. Cities grew into tens of thousands. Forests were cut down to clear fields and build monuments. The land strained beneath the weight of a growing civilization. Any disruption, a failed harvest, a shift in rainfall, threatened catastrophe. The Maya lived in delicate balance with their environment. That balance would not last. When the climate turned against them and the rains ceased to fall, the fragility of their world would become fatally clear. By the late 8th century, signs of crisis spread across the lowlands. Inscriptions reveal constant warfare, especially at Dos Pilas and Calakmul, where kings boasted of victories and captives. Fortresses appeared on hillsides, defensive walls encircled cities. This was no longer a world of ceremonial battles, but brutal wars of survival. At the same time, climate evidence from Lake Chichancanab shows severe droughts gripping the Yucatan. Fields withered, reservoirs dried. As hunger spread, wars became more desperate, fought not just for glory, but for food and water. The golden age of Maya splendor was unraveling. The storm of collapse had begun to gather. Between 800 and 900 CE, the southern lowland cities entered silence. Tikal, Palenque, Copán, Calakmul, once vibrant centers of kingship and ritual, were abandoned. Inscriptions ceased. No more dynasties were recorded. Unfinished monuments stood as eerie witnesses to sudden disruption. Plazas that had once held thousands echoed only with wind and animals. The jungle advanced, roots splitting temples, vines covering palaces. Archaeologists call it the classic Maya collapse. But to those who lived through it, it must have felt like the end of the world. The gods had failed. The kings had failed. The great cycle had turned. Civilization that had endured for 6 centuries was swallowed by silence. And the question remains, why? Why did the Maya collapse? For over a century, scholars have debated the mystery. At first, it was thought to be sudden destruction, perhaps invasion by outsiders, but evidence revealed no foreign conquest. Instead, the truth was more complex. Collapse was not a single blow, but a convergence of crises. Environmental disaster, endless war, collapse of kingship, social upheaval. Each alone could strain a civilization. Together, they formed a perfect storm. The Maya were undone not by one enemy, but by the weight of their own contradictions, exposed by forces beyond their control. Theories continue to evolve, but all point to the same truth. Greatness is fragile, and even the mightiest civilizations can fall. Climate data paints a grim picture. Sediments from lakes across the Yucatan reveal megadroughts lasting decades. Reservoirs dried, maize fields failed, hunger spread like wildfire. The Maya had stripped forests for farmland, exhausted soils, and stretched their environment to its limit. When the rain ceased, millions faced starvation. Some cities built massive reservoirs, ingenious feats of engineering, but even these could not withstand years without rain. The environment, once abundant, became a trap. The Maya, so skilled in astronomy and architecture, could not command the skies. And when the heavens withheld their gift, the foundations of Maya civilization began to crumble. Environmental collapse was not the only cause, but it was a devastating blow from which many cities never recovered. The Maya were warriors as much as astronomers. Stelae across the lowlands show kings boasting of captives, prisoners bound and prepared for sacrifice. Wars that were once ceremonial grew into total struggles for power. City fought city, alliances rose and shattered, blood soaked the plazas. War drained resources, it weakened trade routes, it made famine worse. Instead of uniting against drought, the Maya consumed themselves in conflict. Tikal and Calakmul, once towering powers, bled each other dry. Even smaller cities joined the cycle, seeking prestige through conquest. The cost was ruin. The endless wars of the classic period did not defend the Maya. They destroyed them from within. The Maya king was more than a ruler. He was divine mediator between gods and people. Through rituals of bloodletting, he nourished the cosmos. Through ceremonies, he promised rain and fertility. But when drought struck and famine spread, rituals failed. Blood no longer brought rain. Sacrifices no longer ensured abundance. The people began to lose faith. If the king could not speak with the gods, then what was his purpose? The sacred authority of kings dissolved. Without divine kingship, the Maya political system collapsed. Cities, once united under rulers, fragmented into chaos. The collapse of kingship was not only political, it was spiritual. It severed the link between heaven and earth. Some scholars argue the Maya collapse was not sudden death, but silent revolution. As demands grew, taxes, labor, and sacrifices, the burden on common people became unbearable. In times of hunger and war, why continue to serve rulers who could not deliver rain or protection? Perhaps the people simply walked away. Archaeological evidence shows villages persisted after cities fell. The collapse may not have been annihilation, but rejection. A refusal to bear the weight of elites. Palaces crumbled, not because they were destroyed, but because they were abandoned. If true, then the Maya collapse was not just tragedy. It was a choice, a revolution without swords, where people reclaimed their lives outside the shadow of kings. The collapse of the southern lowlands did not end the Maya world. While cities like Tikal and Copán emptied, new centers rose in the north. Chichen Itza, Uxmal, Mayapan, flourished for centuries after. The Maya adapted to new environments, built new styles of temples, and forged fresh alliances. The northern Yucatan offered more stable water sources and trade across the Gulf of Mexico. Civilization shifted, not vanished. The classic collapse was regional, not total. The Maya continued, reshaping themselves for a new age. The story was not one of disappearance, but transformation. Even after the collapse, the Maya people endured. Millions lived on, farming, worshiping, and speaking their ancestral languages. Spanish conquest centuries later found thriving Maya communities, resistant and resilient. Today, more than 6 million Maya descendants still live across Central America. They carry traditions of weaving, ritual, and language, keeping alive a heritage thousands of years old. The collapse was political, not cultural annihilation. The Maya were never truly lost. Their monuments may have crumbled, but their spirit endured. Their story is not just of ruins in the jungle, but of survival, resistance, and continuity. For centuries, Maya ruins lay hidden under dense jungle canopy. In the 19th century, explorers like John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood brought them to global attention. Their drawings of Palenque and Copán astonished Europe and America. Suddenly, the world realized that Central America held a civilization as great as Egypt or Mesopotamia. To outsiders, it was discovery. To the Maya descendants, it was memory carved in stone. The rediscovery sparked fascination, archaeology, and countless theories. But the true story was always deeper, not a vanished people, but an enduring one. Nature reclaimed what humans abandoned. Roots split palaces, vines draped over pyramids, howler monkeys echoed where kings once ruled. The jungle turned ruins into cathedrals of silence. Temples rose like islands in a sea of green. Archaeologists hacking through vines found stelae lying broken, faces of kings eroded by rain. What had been collapse became mystery. The jungle both preserved and destroyed, protecting ruins from conquest, but erasing their details with time. It was as if the earth itself swallowed the Maya, holding their secrets until the world was ready to find them again. The Maya collapse is not just ancient history. It is a mirror. Overpopulation, deforestation, climate change, political hubris. These pressures echo today. Civilizations rarely fall in one blow. They unravel under weight of their own contradictions. The Maya remind us that greatness is fragile. Their cities were marvels, their calendars precise, their kings divine, and yet their world fell. The warning is clear. We too face challenges of climate, environment, and leadership. Will we learn from the past or repeat the cycle of rise and fall? The Maya collapse remains one of history's great enigmas. An empire fell, but a people endured. Cities emptied, but culture lived on. Their glyphs whisper across centuries, their pyramids rise through jungle mist, their calendars speak of cycles, creation and destruction, beginnings and ends. The Maya remind us that no civilization is eternal. Power fades, kings fall silent, even gods are questioned. But survival is found not only in stone, but in people. In traditions carried forward, in languages still spoken, in memory that refuses to die. The Maya did not vanish, they transformed, and their story remains a haunting echo, warning us, guiding us, and asking the timeless question, when our own cycle ends, will we recognize the signs?